Simpsonville City Council to order. City Clerk Clark, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Gooch.
Here.
Councilmember Roche.
Here.
Councilmember Hulehan.
Here.
Councilmember Roche. Here. Councilmember Cummings.
Here.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Here.
Mayor Shewmaker.
Here. Please rise as you are able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Each member of council has received a copy of our November 14th business meeting minutes. Were there any corrections to the minutes from November 14th? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as written. Now it's time for those citizen comments. Mr. Folk, if you would please come to the podium.
Thank you.
My name is Rod Folk. I live at 18 Cloverfield Drive, Simpsonville, at the Cottages. I'll start over now. My name is Rod Folk. I live at 18 Cloverfield Drive, Simpsonville, at the Cottages at Harrison Bridge East. I want to speak against item D on the agenda, the major change to the Merrydale ID. I believe the developer did an incomplete job with its traffic impact study. They didn't provide the planning commission with enough information for them to make an informed decision. SCDOT standard for a traffic impact study has 10 requirements. The developer's presentation provided no indication that they adhere to these 10 requirements. The three that concern me most are: first, the definition of the study area. The requirement is to include, quote, surrounding land and expected development in the vicinity that would influence future traffic conditions, quote. This should include the intersections with a traffic signal system. In other words, from the intersection of Harrison Bridge and Fairview to the intersection with West Georgia Road. Harrison Bridge is a collector between Fairview and West Georgia. Traffic is consistent during the day, not just at standard peak hours. It peaks at noon and after 2 p.m. Cars don't just vanish into thin air when they enter the road and get out of sight. They create congestion for the entire distance of that road. Council needs to make sure that the study area includes Harrison Bridge all the way West Georgia Road. The second item is the standard required of the study to include expected developments in the study area, future background traffic growth, and, quote, traffic that is generated by other proposed developments, end quote, in that study area. There's no indication that I can see that the study area included the proposed 650 rental housing units proposed by Denton Floyd at 429 and 537 Harrison Bridge, which is directly across from Merrydale ID. The 11 acres adjacent to the east, right next to Target, is zoned residential, and it can have 100 residences depending on density. The 7 acres of commercial tracts marketed by Langston Black Real Estate, which is a 1/10 of a mile away from Merrydale, in front of the cottages at Harrison Bridge. There may be others that I'm not aware of. The real estate community keeps some of that to themselves, and I just don't know about it. I do know there's 28 acres of improved agricultural land within a mile of Merrydale waiting to be developed. Requirement 4 requires that the developer include those proposed developments in the impact study. Number 3 that I'm objecting to, the standard requires the study to describe existing traffic conditions using traffic counts. I didn't see any traffic counts presented at the planning commission, indeed before and after for the development. They did recognize that traffic would be negatively impacted if the retail phase was completed, but said that would be remedied by adding another stoplight. I recommend just sending it back to the planning commission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Folk. That concludes our citizen comments. Before we move on to the business items on the agenda, Council, I rise to a point of personal privilege. In the back, we have our Sergeant at Arms, who I have specifically requested be Officer Morris Madden. Officer Madden, would you come forward, please? As he's making his way forward, let me explain to him why I requested him and why he is here this evening. On Veterans Day, Officer Madden invited me to attend an event that he put together as part of his duties as a school resource officer at Hillcrest High School. He had noticed that the Freedom Shrine that they have there at Hillcrest High School was starting to look a little old and tattered. What's included in the Freedom Shrine is all of the important documents in the history of our country, from the Mayflower Compact all the way up through the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King Jr. And he decided to take it on as a project to just make it back up to the way it should be, reprint some of the documents, maybe they wouldn't be as tattered. It turned into a joint project between Officer Madden, the student body government, the senior class student body government, the senior marketing class, and the high school staff. Officer Madden invited dignitaries way above and beyond the mayor of the city of Simpsonville. There were probably in excess of 100 people who came from outside the school, including state legislators and just the number of people who were there. But that's not really why I wanted to speak tonight about what he accomplished, because what was done was way above what existed there before. They found a printing company that actually prints on walls. They use a very high-tech piece of equipment. I think there's only 3 or 4 of these pieces of equipment in the United States.
Yes.
And you can walk up to it, face-to-face with it, 3 feet away, and it looks like it's legible. You can read this printing on a concrete block wall, is how good this piece of machinery is. It is impressive. The ceremony was impressive, and I just wanted to have Officer Madden here tonight to recognize him for all of his efforts and for pulling together the efforts of the students and the faculty at Hillcrest High School. I just wanted to make sure you got the recognition you deserve for a job very well done. So thank you. First item on our business agenda is appointment of municipal judge. City Administrator Grace Lee, would you summarize for us, please?
Yeah, that's much better. I think this microphone may be out of commission. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you all are aware, we do have multiple municipal judges who sit on the bench, take on-call duty for arraignments and search warrants and things like that when our municipal court staff are not available. And we have one tonight that we would like to have appointed. Mark Putnam is currently a municipal judge with the city of Malden. He also serves as their human resource director. He and City Clerk Clark have something in common, as she still is a municipal judge as well. Municipal Court and Administrative Judge Strong brought this to my attention and indicated that Mr. Putnam was interested in doing this. It does take a toll on the folks who are on call routinely. They do it week after week, and they rotate between, and right now we only have 2 in rotation. We have others available if we beg them to come in, but because he's interested and because we need to have some more people on rotation to give some relief to Judge Strong and to Judge Smith, I am requesting that you all appoint Mark Putnam as municipal judge for the city of Simpsonville to handle on-call rotation for, as I said, arraignments and search warrant signatures and things of that nature that come up after hours and on the weekends.
Thank you. A motion is in order. Councilmember Roche.
Mayor, I move that council approve the appointment of municipal judge Mark Putnam.
I have a motion from Councilmember Roche with a second from Councilmember Hutchings. Discussion?
I will say that he is in attendance if anyone would like to hear from him.
Sounds like you have the approval already, so let's go to a vote on the motion to approve Mark Putnam as rotating judge for the city of Simpsonville. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Putnam. Welcome to the city of Simpsonville. We look forward to your service. Thank you. Next item, 6B, second reading of O-2023-05, update to the business license ordinance. Administrator Gracely, would you summarize, please?
Yes, thank you again, Mayor and Council. Also, as you are aware, South Carolina Act number 176 of 2020 requires that all municipalities participating in business license tax must comply with the South Carolina Business License Tax Standardization Act, and compliance requires that in odd number of years you adopt the new NAICS codes that go along with the ordinance, which basically just classifies businesses and determines which classification they're in for their rate structure. This being an odd numbered year, you are required to adopt the new NAICS codes, which is the only change to the existing business license ordinance. This is second reading and nothing has changed since committee of the whole and first reading.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to approve on second reading 0-2023-05, update to business license ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Cummings with a second from Councilmember Hutchings. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6C, second reading of TX-2023-03, miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance. Administrator Gracely, will you summarize, please?
Yes, thank you. These are very general text amendments to the zoning ordinance to allow for what we're referring to as an entertainment district, which would just be South Main Street from West Curtis Street to Trade Street, just that one block, which we are currently referring to as our Festival Street and our Downtown Revitalization Project. This just allows some different requirements. It lessens the stringency of the requirements. For instance, with parking, you have to have spaces that are either a certain length or include parking stops. Well, what we're trying to do on South Main Street is to have everything on one level without curbs or parking stops, and so this just gives us the flexibility to do that. It also gives us some more flexibility with signage and with architectural features of the buildings along that one block, what we're referring to as the entertainment district. And nothing has changed since committee of the whole and first reading.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilmember Hutchings.
Mayor and Council, I make a motion to approve on second reading TX-2023-03, miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hutchings with a second from Councilmember Gooch. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6D, major change to Merrydale ID SP-2023-10 at 533 Harrison Bridge Road. Planner John Derby, will you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Item tonight is SP 2023-10. This is a major change to the Merrydale Village ID. This is Harrison Bridge Road. On the right side is the Fairview Target. The bottom right side is the Hobby Lobby. And Caution Harrison Bridge in the bottom left-hand corner. Back in 2018, Merrydale Village was annexed into the city. They decided a statement of intent and concept plan, but unfortunately it only described this portion of the development of the annexation. The remaining portion you see tonight is what is coming for you as a change from the statement of intent for Merrydale to a new concept plan, which is the Village Green ID. This did go to Planning Commission on September 7th. It did receive a recommendation for approval of 6-0. They did provide a traffic study to Planning Commission in the meeting packet, the same meeting packet that you got from the staff report. A little over 45 acres in total. A little over 5 of that will be commercial along the front. The remaining portion will be multifamily in the back, multiple different uses of housing styles for those multifamily. The applicant is here tonight and they would like to have a little presentation, go in detail of what this project will entail.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, Mayor, Council, hello. How are you? My name is Tim Crawford. I'm going to start, and then Frank Warren's going to follow up. I'm going to be very brief. I want to describe the concept a little bit to you, first of all, and I want to talk about residential, and then Frank will talk about the commercial. And also, one of the members of the traffic engineering team is here if you have any questions for him. So, going on, let's start here. So, big picture, let's talk about housing needs. So, over the last few years, a lot of what's been built is apartments and single-family homes, and there's a lot of missing middle housing that hasn't been built around the country. One of the things that's important for the Misc middle is it creates options for various life cycle stages, renters by choice, rapidly expanding and growing at different ages, and singles are one of the fastest growing demographics right now in the United States. We can go on to the next slide. This slide describes our product in the middle. Basically, you have a traditional multifamily, which is roughly 60% of the market. You have single-family rentals on the other end, and in the middle we have what we are considered as horizontal multifamily, and we can describe that for you in a little bit. Essentially, it's cottage style for the most part. Continuing to move pretty quick, I want to go back to that slide, please. We really have 3 housing types. We'll talk about that in a minute in our projects. And a lot of it's single level living. About 85–90% of it is all single level living. There's a main street. I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of other projects. It's an internal main street, not a main street like you have here, but it creates a unique sense of place. And when you drive in, you definitely know that you've arrived at something that's a little bit different. So the main street itself has 2-story product along it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it has a clock tower, and that's where the leasing office and the amenities center is as well. So that's what the clock tower and amenities center looks like, cottage style. This is one of the products. It's a cottage style product with a rear yard. And then we have another product that is a patio home with picket fences and a little front yard. And that's the predominant, those two that you just saw are the predominant product type. And then we also have the 2-story product along the internal main street. It is a 6-steplet. It has 4 on the bottom and 2 on the top. Big front porches and a lot of character. What else here? So high-end interiors. What else? All right, so here's a few pictures. We do a lot of artwork around the community, sculptures and gardens, and some of those other pictures you've already seen. All right, so this is high-end. We are roughly 20 to 30% above typical Class A in every community that we go into. Right now I have 2 that have finished, and we've got 4 under construction in other places as well. And it's a high-end product, and we just want everybody to know that. As far as some of the demographics. Let me just talk you through that, and I think that'll conclude my piece of it, and then we'll let Frank talk. We have roughly 70% singles in our projects. Last two we've done demographics on them. 60% single women. They're attracted to really a few things. One of the things that they're attracted to is space. It doesn't feel like a typical apartment project when you drive in because it's on a much bigger piece of property and it's spread out. So out of that, roughly 95% have no children, so we don't attract families. It's not really a family. We obviously don't prohibit it, and we're not trying to. It's just so far what we've built has not attracted families. It's attracted a different demographic. 45% over the age of 40, 20% over the age of 60. Again, these have been the last two projects. And the note here says that many adults don't want to live in a retirement community, and I think that's true. What we have is an all-age community similar to what you would see in a church, where it's not restricted just to one age group. That's all for that. So this is important because I get this a lot in the communities that we go to. They go, yeah, well, we like what you're doing, we like you, but we don't know what the asset's going to look like over time, right? So I came up with a little graphic here. We've talked about what people, what our formula is: a great location, a great design concept, the rents are great, and then it translates into property values. And that's really the formula for a superior long-term asset, is those four things right there. I think that's it for me, right? Your turn to jump up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, Council. Sorry, I'm sort of a short guy. Is that good?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to talk. Tim talked about the concept. I'm going to talk about what we are planning to do, what we'd like to do here in Simpsonville. As John alluded to earlier, this is a 43-acre parcel. It was annexed and zoned ID in 2018 as part of Merrydale Village. So what we're doing now is asking for the concept plan approval for the balance of the acreage. And so I'll show you the plan in a second, you'll see it. What we've got is roughly 6 acres of commercial and 37 acres of residential. The original Merrydale Village had 5.6 acres of commercial, so we tried to stay true to that and we increased it a little bit. And I'll talk in detail about that. That's in 4 parcels. So I just wanted to show you some of the principles of the ID zoning and how we fit that, and the fact that we do embody all the principles of that. Plus, we're going to provide a new and innovative housing concept for Simpsonville, like Tim said. So here's the property. John already showed you that. This is the original Merrydale Village ID concept plan. So you see in the lower right, the 5.6 acres that were approved as commercial. And here is our plan. So you'll see the 4 commercial parcels out front. Those range in size from roughly 1 acre to just over 2 acres. Just go ahead and fast forward. So you'll see by color, this is what we're proposing. Tim shows you the 2-story, 6-tuplet buildings, which are small footprint, small 2-story buildings, almost like big houses. Each unit, the 2 units upstairs have their own private stairwells, so there are no breezeways in these buildings. They look like really a big house. So you'll see that that's the blue along the frontage behind the commercial. Then the density sort of feathers back to the green, which is the detached cottages. And then in the back is are the patio homes that Tim alluded to. So we scale back from the 2-story to the single-story for the cottages and the patio homes in the back. Our communities, we like to gate them for security. Our residents like that. In this case, the gates will probably go behind the two-story. So before you get to the one-story is where those gates would be. One of the things that John had asked me about was connectivity to the adjacent parcels. So you'll notice that we have two places there where we could connect to the 11 acres, which of course is undeveloped. So when that property does come in for development, there are two locations that you can see where the internal streets would connect through. We do have the amenity center. Tim showed you photos of that. That's in the red. And then the red in the back is actually our first pickleball court. We've never done one before, but apparently everyone but me is playing pickleball. I do have a dog, so the dog park is next to the pickleball court. So that's where I'll be until I learn how to play pickleball. But the amenity center up front in the red, got the swimming pool, community kitchen, and Tim loves having a clock tower, so you will get your second clock tower in town. A couple of other things. Let me go on actually to the, So this is our buffer plan, and you'll see that we do have, so the buffer ranges from 15 to 20 feet. The northern and eastern boundaries. Ordinance says 10 feet. Within that buffer, we would have a 6-foot privacy fence and a tree every 40 feet. So if I tallied it up correctly, that's about 93 trees, if our survey is correct. And then we have the detention ponds. So we understand that flooding has sort of become an issue here, right? So I can assure you, our engineers aren't here this evening, but we'll be working with Stephen Whiteside on making sure that those ponds are adequately sized and of adequate depth. I actually walked the creek this afternoon, and so we're going to make sure that the water is detained on site adequately before it flows off site. So I can't stand here and say the ponds are going to look exactly like that, but there is room for the ponds there. So this is a great rendering of the site, and you can see the commercial parcels out front, and then along the creek, we do have a 35-foot at least buffer. In most cases, it far exceeds that before you get up to the pond. And we can go back to that actually. So one of the things that we also been asked about was trees. So we have not done a detailed tree survey yet. That'll be one of the first things we do if we get approval here and we move forward with the master plan. I did have the boundary survey, guys. There are 7 trees out front that would come down that are on one of the commercial parcels. And so we would have to replace those with 13 trees of at least 2.5-inch caliber. But also through the ordinance, you get credit for tree save. I can assure you there are lots of big trees that are going to get saved in that stream buffer that I saw today. So, but again, all that will just have to be played out when we do the tree survey and the master plan. Here are a couple of renderings of what it's like along the street, or would be like along the street. This would be from the one of the commercial parcels leading in towards the back of the site. You'll see the 2-story product, so that would be looking sort of northwest. And then this would be looking kind of northeast with the clock tower, the amenity center, looking towards the 11 acres that are undeveloped. I do want to go back a couple of things. One is, you'll see that we have 2 entrances on the plan. One is off of Merrydale Farms, and then that goes out to Harrison Bridge Road. That is our only full access entrance. So the entrance that we have off of Harrison Bridge is a right in, right out only. Just wanted to make that clear. That was a DOT stipulation. So we do have a 3rd entrance up at the entrance for along the 11 acres, but that's fire only, so that's gated nobody can get in with fire trucks, which we hope do not come. So the only access for automobiles is off of Merrydale Farms and Harrison Bridge. Tim had described the cottage green. He worked on this for several years before he built any of them. He really worked hard to refine this. It's serving an untapped market. We feel like it's an asset to any community. Organized around the main streets, a series of neighborhood green spaces. And, we're kind of selective in where we want to develop. And we want to come to a place where the zoning supports it. We feel like the site supports it. The innovative development, we feel like is sort of made for us. And we built a great product and we'd love to be here. So that's the presentation. Thank you. Open for questions.
Motion is in order. Councilmember Hulehan.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move that council approve major change to Merrydale ID SP-2023-10 at 533 Harrison Bridge Road.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hulehan with a second from Councilmember Cummings. Discussion? Councilmember Hulehan.
Yes. So traffic, big on everybody's mind.
Yes.
And we heard earlier that perhaps the Planning Commission did not have the full information regarding a traffic study at the time that they made their decision. But Mr. Derby also said that they did have that in their meeting packet. I'm looking at 161 pages in my meeting packet related to this development, which does include a traffic impact study that seems rather detailed. Perhaps you can give us some of the high points of that traffic impact study?
Sure. Let me have a slide back here. We really tried to cut this back for tonight. So, Alan, if you want to come up and he can speak to it much better than me. So it's impact designs.
He's young. He's gonna go somewhere.
Good evening. My name is Alan Reed with Impact Designs. We did do a traffic study. The study was scoped from the beginning with SCDOT, who determined and agreed to the list of study intersections. Then the starting point of any traffic study is to go out and collect existing traffic counts, which we did in May of 2023 before school got out on a weekday that school was in session. We're required to only count on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, non-holiday weeks when school is in session. So we did that, studied the existing scenarios, studied future scenarios, assuming I want to say 2% year over year background growth going out to 2025 and then 2026, I believe. And we typically do include any approved developments that are within the study area. We were not made aware of any by the city or SCDOT. I know there's certainly some speculation about some adjacent parcels, but typically we don't operate on speculation, just what traffic that we know is going to be there. So we didn't get any adjacent developments to include, so we just did that background growth growing up into the future analysis years. The residential did not trigger any additional asphalt at the major signal there at Harrison Bridge and Fairview. We were able to make some adjustments to the signal timing to get within a couple seconds of the base condition. The commercial in the second phase is what tripped both a new signal at Merrydale Farms and an additional left turn lane on Harrison Bridge at Fairview. And that will require some changes to how the signal operates, but all that will have to be constructed by the developer.
Councilmember Hulehan.
I'm going to pass.
Okay. Further discussion?
Yeah, please.
Councilmember Roche.
I heard the gentleman say that those that are leaving the new subdivision would only turn right only on Harrison Bridge, where you implied that there would be a signal there to turn left. Did I misunderstand somebody?
Yeah, I think the stipulation in the first residential phase, SCDOT has gotten into the practice of these busy roads that they are not prepared to widen, of posting no left turn signs during peak hours, peak morning, peak evening. That's the developer would be required to post such a sign. There will be no physical barrier restricting that movement. It is just sort of SCDOT's way of saying we acknowledge the problem, but we're not prepared to fix it. And then in the second phase, with the commercial traffic, the addition of the new signal is warranted based on the projected volumes. DOT would not support a signal in the first phase because volumes don't meet the warrant thresholds with just the residential traffic.
All right, just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
The gentleman that spoke did mention that there were no car counts specifically in the study. I'm still not seeing that. Do you have that information of how many cars you're expecting to add to this area?
Yeah, we counted the existing traffic in May of 2023. We estimate the projected traffic from the development.
Which is what?
It's summarized in one of the tables in the study.
We got 100-some pages. So
yeah.
I was hoping you had it on this
Sure.
highlighted sheet.
I can tell you. It's not. I don't know if it's on your slide, but
I'm not seeing it. That's all.
I got it right. In the morning peak hour, you're expected to have from just the residential 29 cars coming in and 93 cars leaving, and in the evening it'd be 100 cars coming in and 58 cars leaving. The commercial phase would increase that obviously to bring the total. I don't have it broken down for just the commercial alone, but the total after the commercial is added, morning would be 95 trips entering, 122 leaving. In the evening, it'd be 133 entering and 91. So that's in table 2 on page 8.
Your assessment on 320 home addition that would only add 29 cars in the morning.
That would be 29 cars coming into the development in the morning. Most cars are leaving residential developments
And how many did you say would be leaving?
93. And that is just within a single hour, the peak hour of the morning traffic. And these estimations are not just my wins. This is based on data that has been accrued for decades in the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, which we're now on the 11th edition. They update every couple of years. So this is based on similar developments across the country, sort of average number of trips produced per unit.
Okay. I see about 500 cars residentially adding to this area before the commercial. That's what concerns me. I think the second most busiest intersection in the city, and adding to that right now I think is a major problem. And we're adding 320 homes. It's probably 600 cars, more like it. So that's kind of where I wasn't implying at all you were making up your numbers.
Sure.
They're not adding, in my mind, what I think we would see in the intersection, but thank you, appreciate it.
Councilmember Roche.
I think some of the confusion might be you're talking number of cars coming in and out of the community. I think Mr. Root might be thinking of actual number of trips through the intersection. Okay, so those numbers for phase 1 and phase 2 are in the study. For phase 1, 320 dwelling units add 2,127 trips through that intersection. Phase 2, the commercial phase, would bring that to 4,164 trips through that intersection, if I'm seeing the study correctly.
You're Through which intersection?
The intersection of Harrison Bridge Road and Fairview.
I mean, those sound like daily numbers, so that might be right. I don't know. I didn't calculate the percentages going daily going that direction. But
They're in the study. I pulled them straight out of all of those pages.
yeah, are you on table 2?
I don't know which table it was from. I put it on my notes so I could remember those exact numbers.
So I think what you're saying is the total number of trips produced by the development on a daily basis would be 4,100 and some change. Yeah. But we estimate that certainly most of that's going towards the signal, and then some would filter out in the other direction.
Okay. The traffic data counts for May 2023. The peak hour data. 5,435 cars between 7 and 8:45 a.m. 7,028 vehicles between 4 and 5:45 p.m. Now that's current without any problems. The study also acknowledges, quote, the capacity analysis indicates that nearly all movements are expected to operate near or above capacity in all future scenarios. And the 2025 analysis here, the addition of site traffic under Phase 1 build conditions is anticipated to drop the overall level of service from which is now a D. And for the general public, if you haven't read this stuff, they assign a grade of A through F. A being the best possible scenario, F being the worst. So in 2025, it'll bring what is now an LOS D under no build condition. Well, even with no build, it'll become an E in the AM peak hour. With splits reoptimized for the new demand, it is expected that signal would operate similarly to the no build as shown in the build approved 2025 scenario. In the 2026 analysis here, the traffic signal operations are anticipated to continue to degrade with the addition of site traffic in the Phase 2 build scenario. The morning peak hour, the overall level of service is expected to drop 1 grade. Similarly, in the PM peak hour, the northbound approach level of service would drop from LOSD to LOSE. We're not getting any better. My concern is traffic. And I'd like to start out by saying, even though that's what we're addressing right now, there are some elements of the design that I absolutely love, and it's very well done. I just think that the density that's being included is going to add too many vehicles to an already strained intersection. I've sat in that intersection before. You can't get a right out of certain areas, you can't get a left out of certain areas. The right in, right out thing, that sounds like a great idea because it's not pushing traffic toward that intersection of Fairview and Harrison Bridge Road. Where it is pushing it is where Mr. Folk pointed out earlier, it's going to go to the other end. And that's what a lot of us have to do now when we come out of Target or anything in that shopping plaza. You can't make a left anymore. So we have to go right. Well, if I'm going to try to get back to this section towards Fairview Road, I'm going to have to go down Davenport Road. Davenport Road is a 2-lane road with stop signs that nobody pays attention to now. I can't imagine adding to Davenport Road. We've had people hit by cars and killed. There's no sidewalks. No improvements have been made to Davenport in a very, very long time. The other way to go would be to go all the way to West Georgia. Anybody that lives here would gladly explain to you West Georgia is not the place to add more traffic right now either. And unfortunately, I know the way SCDOT works. It's very much if you build it, they will come. And then we build it, and they come. And then SCDOT reacts. They're a reactive government entity. They're not proactive. Until you get those counts up, they're not going to spend a dime in the city to improve anything. So we have two problems. We have Fairview Road and we have West Georgia Road. And now we've got Harrison Bridge Road developing between the two really problem roads that we have. And adding more density is never going to be the answer to that. because SCDOT is reactive. We've got to figure out a way to bring beautiful communities like this, and again, I applaud you. I think it fits the ID development without the density. I do take issue with a few other points. We don't have a missing middle here. It may appear that way, but at the same time that this development is happening, well, you can drive down Main Street right now. We have 2 townhome communities we put on Main Street right now. We have another community close by that is putting in what I think is a 15-minute city, okay? It's a mixture of housing, a mixture of commercial. It's a great concept, but there's no missing middle here in Simpsonville. I'm a real estate agent. I'll just put that out there. We're missing single-family homes that are in a certain price category that are actually affordable and are considered affordable housing. And just as an ethical plug, I like to see people achieve home ownership instead of renting for life. So I would much rather see single-family homes and give people the chance to invest in themselves and create generational wealth rather than be tied into a rental system. Another thing that was said is that this is a high-end product. I have no doubt it's a high-end product. It's beautiful. If the renderings are true to what will happen, it's a beautiful high-end product. But this high-end in that density presents a decreased quality of life for those of us that already live here, and essentially the people that will come. Not that the housing's not beautiful, but your decreased quality of life comes when you're sitting in traffic at one intersection, just trying to get your groceries home, and you can't get through that intersection for 10 changes of light. Your decrease comes when you're late for work, you're late for dance class, you're late to soccer, you're late to council meetings. That the traffic is what our constituents are telling us. I'm sitting here with 11 pages of emails that someone printed for me. Thank you, whoever that was. I can double that with what I've received in email, and I can triple that with what I've received in phone calls. Please don't add this to this intersection, to this road right now in this density. Our constituent, my opinion of our constituency is that this is not what they want, and I represent them. And I don't see a way to add this without creating a decreased quality of life overall. That's my hang up, would be the traffic and the density. I think less density would be more acceptable. I think there's still going to be problems, but I think that if SCDOT, I see that they recommended the improvements of 2 left turn lanes and a light. Will they follow up on that? How soon will they follow up on that? When will that happen in this development? Are questions that I know I have and a few others do. But decreased density would be better. I would like overall to see you come back with a better site plan that includes less density and as many reforms to the road that you possibly can that will make this easier for everyone.
Council? Councilmember Gooch.
I'll take a swing at it. Just a few questions, probably for Mr. Derby. If this doesn't get approved with the current zoning as it is now, what can the property be used for?
Should be able to revert back to what it is now, just a blank slate, basically. Like I stated earlier, it was annexed into the city as ID, but was never described of what was intended to go here.
Okay. So they would have to present a new plan at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see, I have a couple of others. Mr. Roche, you covered several things I wanted to ask about as far as the grading. Somebody else wants to ask a question. Give me just a moment.
Councilmember Cummings.
I'll be quick, I got one, he'll come back to you. Just for it to be stated, what is the intended price point on some of the units?
So the rents that we are estimating would range from $1,400 to about $2,300 a month. And average about $2 a square foot.
Thank you.
If I could address the density question. So our residential portion is 8.7 units an acre. Your high residential, I believe it's either 14 or 15 an acre. I looked at your last 5 apartments that have gotten developed here, have been approved and developed. Those average 12 units an acre. So we are significantly less than that at 8.7. I am not a traffic engineer, but I will show you on the site plan about the entrances. So the entrance on Harrison Bridge Road, that is the right in, right out one. The entrance on Merrydale Farms, that is the full access intersection. So DOT has told us that no left turns from Merrydale Farms onto Harrison Bridge during peak hours until we put in a traffic light. So guess what we're going to do? That traffic light will be installed. Technically, that is not required until the commercial is done, but we will go ahead and do that. I don't have a rendering of the additional left turn lane at Harrison Bridge and Fairview. That is also required of our commercial. The right-of-way for that already exists between Panera. It's basically between the sidewalk and the existing pavement. So we have been told, well, I've seen a document that that right-of-way has been deeded as an easement, and that should be adequate. So the land is there, it does have to be added, and a new mechanism, obviously, added at the lake. And with that signal and changes to the light, to the timing of it, the condition does improve at that intersection, and that is in the study.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Root?
I think more of my concern is not getting in and out of this proposed subdivision. My concern is less about what this does to Harrison Bridge, which perhaps is a concern of mine, but more so what it's doing to Fairview and Harrison Bridge. That's the way they're gonna get home, and that's the way they're gonna go to work primarily. If you put a left-hand signal there, to me, that causes more problems. That's driving more people to Harrison Bridge that perhaps would have to go to West Georgia. So adding a light to this on Harrison Bridge doesn't make it better in my mind. It makes it worse for the intersection that I'm concerned about. I think we all agree that this is a nice, would be a beautiful neighborhood. Perhaps maybe if it was somewhere else other than such a bad intersection. And it probably wasn't that way back in 18 when this was first presented, the way that it's been. So that's my concern. It's less getting in and out of this versus what it's going to do to an already terrible intersection at Fairview and Harrison Bridge is where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Mr. Root. Any further discussion from council? Councilmember Roche?
I just want to add to that currently, one of the reasons I do appreciate this traffic study is because it gets SCDOT to acknowledge that we have a problem currently. Who knew? Probably all of us have been sitting there. And what they recognize is a service, ICU level of service of F. We're failing at that intersection, okay, currently. That's with no building. I don't see this improving that. In fact, they go to, after the build in 2025, and we haven't even gotten to the commercial yet, the intersection LOS is degraded to an E Right now, the utilization at that intersection is 93.3%. After they build, if they build in 2025, we go to an E and the capacity increases to 102%. That's a failure all day long. And we haven't even gotten to the commercial phase. I'll just leave it there.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yeah, I want to make a point. I remember this discussion back in 2018, and this is more of a clarification than a point. But you know, when a landowner decides to sell their parcel of land to a developer, you know, generally in this situation, there's two ways it can go. It can go with the county or it can go with the city. What the majority of this council did not want in 2018 till now is for this property to go to the county. And this is not a knock on the county at all. It just is what it is. They care nothing about density levels. They care nothing about, it is literally, if we say no, they say yes. And so for the residents here, I want you to be clear and understand that, because some of the density levels that this project could have been approved at, had we said no in 2018, would have been in this upper 12, 13, 14 per acre. So with that being said, it's our responsibility to be as best stewards as we can with the presentment that we have, which is a development that is going to happen one way or another. It's better that we take hold of it and are able to at least have these discussions here. So I do appreciate all the impact and all the information that you provided. We wish, and as residents, you know, I wish we had the ability to call it SEDOT and they come out every year and we can tell them here's our property issues and they will actually address them. It's just unfortunately not how it works. And we were kind of at their mercy and at their timing. So as Councilwoman Roche says, we do know once something comes, then SEDOT comes back behind and says, okay, let's see where we can kind of fix something or make something more advantageous for the residents in the area. But until that happens, they just don't do anything. So I just wanted to literally say that out loud so everyone understands the process. If I was sitting in someone's shoes and didn't know, like, why did they approve this to begin with? That's the reason why. Because if that happens, we have no say-so in how it's developed, and it's going to be always at a much higher level than what we would approve as a council in general. So.
Councilmember Gooch.
I think I recall now. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. You jogged my memory. And excellent point. And he's right. If we had left it in the county, it would have been horribly worse. And this is not bad. I'm not saying your project. I love your project. I have nothing against your project. I am concerned about the density. So if you get approval, I know you've got to make money. This is what you do. You're not doing it because you just want to do this for a living, for fun. You've got to make a living doing it. But can we look at the density of this? Because any density we get in reduction, we did the same thing to this development right up the street. It was much more dense. And they were able to come back with some concessions that worked better for the city, not necessarily the developer. I know that means you're going to give something up. But their density went down and the numbers got a lot better. And it made it a lot more palatable because the traffic got a lot better. So that's something you could consider looking at. It would make this more palatable because Mr. Cummings has the next point. This is going to be developed one way or the other, this council, next council. It's a matter of what is going on this property. So I don't know if you want to address that question about density.
Yeah, we would have to walk away just with the economics of it and what's being, what we're required to do with the road improvements and traffic signal and things like that. Would have to walk away. I will say something about the traffic study for a second. So one of the other projects that I've done before, I did my own traffic study on it. We hired a traffic engineer to come out and to study it. And they studied it similar to what was studied here, like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during school. And the numbers that they came up with were much less than the Institute of Traffic requires the traffic engineers to use, right? So if you look at it on a scale of the highest, actually from residential, the highest traffic user is single family, and the least is multifamily. Now, we're required to use a category called mid-rise, is that? Not multi, yeah, so low-rise multifamily is what we're required to use, right? Our actual community with the demographics that we had was much less than the mid-rise category. So even if you apply those same standards, which they can't do, but this was from an actual one of our projects with a traffic engineer similar to the group that did it here. And it was more like 3.9, and I think right now it's around 6 something is what they're at. And single family is at 9 point something. So ours is actually, what I'm trying to say is we can't use those numbers, but the actual numbers that we did were less than what you have in the traffic study. So, and then economically, it's just, we just have to walk away. I'm not trying to, that's just what it is. And we're already, I think if we went forward, if we could have brought something in that was at 14 to the acre, is that right? Or, yeah, at 14 to the acre, and we came in at 8 something to the acre.
Councilmember Roche.
Even considering the traffic that the development, the housing development part brings, what really threw the traffic study over the edge, by the numbers that I see, was when they opened that commercial, when they built that commercial in 2026. When you build that, then the traffic numbers soar even higher. Because now we've got everybody moving through the intersection trying to get to those restaurants and those shops. And so it just, even if, I'll leave it there. I think you know what I'm saying.
Members of council? Councilmember Hutchings.
Way I look at this, as Councilmember Roche mentioned earlier, we're looking at intersections that are predicted to be level of service grade F by 2025 without the build. I find it hard to vote for this development, although I like the development, it's beautiful, all of what you've done. But the traffic amount that we're looking at, when you already have an intersection that's going to be in a bad point, even if there was no bill. So, but I also looked at after the commercial was done and everything kicks in with DOT, put in all the other things, the traffic lights and the other improvements, then those numbers, that intersection goes, I think, from an F to a B or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because of the better management of traffic that's there. That doesn't take into account any other developments that might come along in the meantime. So and back to the discussion we were talking about earlier, I think the 4,100 trips, I believe it was, that's on table 2 in this packet that you gave us. 4,164 trips, according to this, are assigned 25% to west via Harrison Bridge Road, 30% east via Harrison Bridge Road, 35% north via Fairview, and 10% south via Fairview. So for all those reasons, I'm having difficulty with this because of the traffic that we already have, and then adding to that, even if it's not as much as it could be with some other type of densities, it's still a lot.
Councilmember Cummings.
Point here. I appreciate the transparency on answering Councilman Gooch's question around if you could change the I guess, the density or what that would do to the project. I don't know how you kind of have to, I guess, plan for a worst case scenario because, let's just say, we decide as a council that, okay, we can't move forward with this. And then you all come back and put a for sale sign out on that property. There's going to be another development here. Like that, there is no if, and, or buts about that. Like there will be more housing in this development in Simpsonville. So to me, the situation is how can we best utilize that future development, knowing that we can't control the traffic, we can control a little bit what we approve as far as the density levels, but we can't control who buys said property next year if this is up for sale. I, like Councilmember Roche, would love single-family residence. However, like my house, I got 5 people, 3 drivers. That little Zactus and Chick-fil-A, we're out of that house every day, 3 or 4 times. And that's just me. So I understand how a single-family resident multiplying that over 180 or 200 homes is going to magnify traffic too. So I guess I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking out loud to let people know that we are absolutely cognizant around traffic, those concerns, those things. But this nothing to do with this development. But it's kind of like, okay, what's the devil you know, the devil you don't. So what's going to be in the best interest of reducing as much of that as possible? And that's kind of where my head is around knowing in the future this will be something else. It's not a if. It will be after my time, but it will be something else. And was there a way to make the best case scenario decision at that time? I promise that's my last comment on this.
We're getting one follow-up question, probably for traffic. And I've seen in your study that these intersections now, the roads are already fairly low. Not fairly, really low. If we do nothing, they get lower. But Mr. Hutchings made the comment that we can get to a B grade, but is that B grade associated with what you would do with this development of lines and the traffic controls that would be in place by the time you build everything out? Because we do nothing, we wind up with an F at Fairview and Harrison Bridge. And if I clarify the question, if this development does go through, that intersection actually increases to a B rating. Is that a result of this development and what you're doing?
Good question. I believe that F improving to a B is in reference to Merrydale Farm intersection. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yes, sir. So the addition of the traffic signal with the commercial phase would improve that intersection from F to B, because turning left on a stop sign is much harder than turning left to a traffic signal. That's essentially what it boils down to. The improvement, the additional left turn lane on Harrison Bridge at Fairview gets it back to a there's D in the morning and an E in the evening, which is the same letter grade that it would be if the development never showed up. With actually improved delay, improved numbers over that no build condition in the same year. And I would just say that while there's obvious concerns over the traffic at that signal, the DOT will not show up to fix it for a decade. And these folks are offering to make a very substantial improvement to the capacity of that signal as part of their development.
And we're optimistic at saying a decade.
Yeah, I mean, that's your best case here.
So you're actually going to improve the intersection, not just at Merrydale, or sorry, at this development, but also you're going to improve the intersection at Fairview and Harrison Bridge as well by adding another turn lane that DOT won't do because there's time to show up.
That's correct. That's correct. And any development, any one additional trip is going to make the traffic worse.
And that's at the cost of the developer.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's everything I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Hutchings.
One follow-up question on the impact study. Looking at no bill 2026 versus bill 2026. Through traffic on Fairview Road, the numbers are the same. Why is that?
Which thing are you looking at? Make sure
It's, Merrydale, it's a no-bill traffic volumes 2026 versus no, billed traffic volumes 2026. Two different diagrams.
Let's see. And at which intersections there?
The Fairview Road through traffic,
Yeah.
and both are the same number.
Yeah. Correct, because the development wouldn't add any traffic going through on Fairview, so the no build condition is the same as the build condition, just without the development. So the development doesn't add any traffic to a through movement on Fairview, because that's not going to or coming from the development.
That makes sense.
Good question.
Thank you.
Council? Okay, my turn. Mr. Derby. In 2018, this was approved as an ID,
Yes, sir.
and that is a total of 80 acres thereabouts that was included in that ID,
In the annexation, yes, sir.
in the annexation. So Merrydale Village was about half of it, and then what we're talking about tonight is the other half of it.
That's correct.
My understanding is correct. The density in Merrydale Village is 4.2 units per acre. And what's being proposed for this half, about the same size, is 8.7, more than double the amount of density. Did I have that correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not asking the question, I'm just making the observation that at the time that this was approved, I don't think council would have anticipated that you would be doubling the density on the other half of the property when the site plan was approved for the Merrydale half of the annexation. So that's a fairly significant increase in the density. Trading for that increase in density for getting the improvements to having a light on Harrison Bridge Road and improvements to having a double left turn lane from Harrison Bridge onto Fairview, I think might be worth it to me. I will tell you that I serve on the Greenville-Pickens Area Transit Study. It's a federally required committee that is put together with all the mayors in the upstate, different people who are members of the General Assembly. There's about 40 or so legislators who are on that committee. The point is, all the DOT money, all the federal money runs through that committee. I'm one vote. I have very little influence on what happens there. But the thing that I do know by going to those meetings on a monthly basis is that they're currently working on what they call the Horizon 2045 plan. If it's not on the list, you can come up with a great idea and put it on the list. It will go on the list for 2045. Okay, so 10 years. They expedited a project and moved it up on the list so that now it's only 10 years out. So, if we could get an improvement to our street, especially on Fairview, and especially where that left turn stacks up past the far entrance into the Target shopping center at times, at the peak times in the afternoon. Actually, that might be a worthwhile trade to me. So that's the only comment that I had. All right, I believe that brings us to the end of our discussion on that agenda item. So, on the motion to approve the major change to Merrydale ID SP-2023-10 at 533 Harrison Bridge Road, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Clerk Clark, if you would, please.
You ready? Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
No.
Councilmember Hulehan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
No.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
No.
Mayor Shewmaker.
Yes. With that, the motion passes. And we go on to our next item of business. Commissions and board appointments and accommodations tax advisory committee. Well, I guess we'll start with the planning commission. Mr. Derby, will you summarize, please?
So give me 1 second, get it set up.
Mayor, can we move forward with the accommodations tax while he's getting set up?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Thank you. As you all know, we receive state accommodations tax from the Department of Revenue, and as such, we are required to appoint an accommodations tax committee that then makes recommendations to council for how that funding gets spent on events in Simpsonville. Every 2 years, you appoint a new committee, and it is time to do that now. And so with that, you are required to appoint a committee of 7, 2 representatives who represent lodging establishments in the city, 2 who represent hospitality, which would be restaurants, 1 that represents cultural arts, and then 2 at-large representatives. Currently, there are 3 members who are eligible to continue to serve. They can serve 2 consecutive terms. That would be Polly Foster, Jake Reinstein, and Hunter Howard III. And then you would be appointing 4 new members, which would be Shauna Rose, representing the Hampton Inn, David Berger, representing the Slice, Celine Pascal, who would represent the artist's interest at Celine's Fabric Art, and then Victor Sanchez, who has a company called PMI Property Management in the city of Simpsonville, and he's very active in community events. Those are our recommendations for your approval.
Motion to approve the slate is in order. Councilmember Hulehan.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move that council approve the complete slate of candidates recommended by the city administrator for the ATAX committee.
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Hulehan with a second from Councilmember Gooch. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Now, Mr. Derby, you ready? Planning Commission?
Yes, sir. Tonight we have to appoint members to the Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission. Currently, we have 1 seat coming available in the year. Sure, Dave Knapp is not looking to reappoint. He has served on the Planning Commission for several years. On your screen are the applicants that are been submitted to you, applications for Planning Commission. You'll be selecting one of these people from the ballot handed by Ms. Clark.
Thank you.
Please just select one and sign at the bottom.
You all have, by a 5-vote majority, selected Ray Shannon to serve.
Administrator Gracely, what's the total count of votes, please?
7.
Thank you. Next.
All right, we have 3 seats available on Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Tom Grinstaff and Cheryl Carpenter. Seats are expiring. They have applied for their seats. They have both served honorably this last 3 years. We also have 1 vacancy available. So there's 3 seats total. We're doing 1 at a time, so please just take 1 seat for the Board of Zoning Appeals 3-year term. And please minus Ray Shannon off the list.
vote of 6 to 1, you have appointed Sherilyn Carpenter.
Thank you. Next.
Second seat, again, minus Ray
I gotta
Shannon
do this
and
again.
Ms. Carpenter. This is another 3 years.
Mr. Mayor, by a vote of 6 to 1, you have appointed Tom Grindstaff.
All right, and there's one last seat for 3 years. Again, Ms. Carpenter, Ms. Grinstaff, Mr. Shannon, who are ineligible. That's the selection.
By a vote of 6 to 1, you have appointed Brian Sofield.
I believe that concludes all of our business items for this evening. Before I adjourn, are there any other items? Councilmember Gooch.
I know the hour is late, so I will be brief. I appreciate that you've given me a moment. I have served in this seat for 12 years, and this is my last meeting. And in some ways, that's a blessing. People ask me when you finish, I say my sentence ends today. And it has been both a pleasure and some days not so much. In short, I do want to be very brief, and there's some people I want to thank. One, the staff here is amazing. The folks who work for this city are dedicated to their jobs, are dedicated to people, they're dedicated to making this a great place to live. And they do an amazing job that nobody ever sees. And they keep our budgets in order, they keep our taxes low. It's amazing. And I really appreciate the work they do. And there's a couple things I take great pride in. One's the Art Center and one's our new facilities we're building. There's a lot of things I can point to. I don't know how to sum up 12 years. I really don't. I am most proud to have served with some of the most brilliant and dedicated people I've ever met, both on this council, previous councils, on the staff that work here, the citizens who are dedicated to this community. That's really the greatest and most wonderful thing that I'm most proud of, is serving with those who are so dedicated to making this place so much better for themselves, for their neighbors, and for their children, and those to come after us. And I'm most grateful to all. To my family, and to my bride, they have stood by me through thick and thin, and there have been some very thin and sometimes very thick days around here. This place is better than what I found when I got here, and I intend to leave it much better than when I found it, and it is better. It is better in many, many ways. So I can't sum up 12 years, so I found somebody who can do it for me. So as I empty the drawers of this desk, and as Mrs. Truman and I leave the White House, we have no regret. We feel we've done our best in public service. I hope and believe we have contributed to the welfare of this nation and the future of the world. Through all of it, through all the years that I have worked here in this room, I've been well aware I did not really work alone, that you were working with me. No president could ever hope to lead our country or sustain the burdens of this office, save as the people helped with their support. I've had that help. You've given me that support on all our great essential undertakings to build the free world strength and keep the peace. Those are the big things. Those are the things we have done together. And for that, I should be grateful always. And now the time's come to say goodnight. God bless you all.
Councilmember Cummings.
I'd like to take a point of order as well. I wrote these notes down like 5 times, something that I decided just to not even read them. So, I want to thank my Lord for giving me the strength and the courage to do this. If you'd asked me 8 years or so ago if I would have ever done this, I would have never imagined even trying to be in public service, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve the city. I'm thankful for this awesome staff. We have an amazing staff. Best city administrator ever. Best HR clerk, and if I started naming names, I'd run out, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm very thankful for the city. I'm very thankful for the citizens who entrusted me over these 8 years and showing up and voting. Thankful for the businesses. And I'm thankful for my family to give me the time and the space to do this. Definitely was not easy raising 3 young boys who are in every single activity you can think of. It gave me the space and opportunity to serve and do this job. Like Councilmember Gooch and Councilmember Hulehan, we entered this seat in some different times, I'll say. And the one, I could say the biggest takeaway, I would say, leaving this place better, was around civility. There was a time when I would get messages around our meetings from folks far and wide, and it was around what was said or what was done in a meeting that was on TV. Now the meetings are a lot quieter, which is a good thing. From the municipal complex to the arts center, to the branding, to taking care of our employees several times, as far as pay and things of that nature, getting them up to par, and no tax increases. This is truly a great place to live, and it's a great place to serve, and I just hope that everything that we have accomplished thus far can be continued on with the rest of this staff here, along with the newcomers. Thank you all for your time, and I don't want to keep going on, but I definitely appreciate serving with some of the best folks in Simpsonville, so I appreciate you guys putting up with me over these last 8 years, and I'm absolutely going to miss this, but I'm not going to work, so you'll see me around. Thank you.
Councilmember Hulehan.
People are staring at me, so apparently I'm supposed to give a farewell speech, which I did not prepare at all with any notes or quotes from presidents or anything else. I was mostly excited to come to the last meeting and be able to stay here for the last time, vote for the last time, and have that sweet freedom that Ms. Gracely was talking about in the beginning of the meeting, because it has been a long 8 years. It's a lot of work. I think one of the first things when the mayor came into office, he said to me was, I know I don't know what I don't know, which I think is one of the smartest things a person can say, because when you come into a position like this, you don't know what you don't know, and there is a lot that you don't know. I have learned so much over the last 8 years serving this city and serving the public that I never would have thought that I would be interested in or learn about. The Institute of Traffic Engineers, that is some dry, boring reading. And I appreciate the 161-page report we got, but that is also some dry reading. And if you're doing this job and you're doing it right, then you're doing the reading before you show up to the meetings. You're doing the work in between the meetings. You're talking to your fellow council members. You're talking to the staff. You're talking to the people who are presenting things. And it takes up a lot of time. When I first talked about running, somebody said to me, oh, it's 2 meetings a month. It's fine. It is not 2 meetings a month. That was the biggest lie anyone ever told me about serving on the city council. It was probably you, liar. Because it's not. Some days those are 40-hour work weeks that we've put in. Sometimes it's 20. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it's a little less. But it's hardly even a part-time job because, as the mayor said earlier, we're 24/7 on the job as council members, and that has been a lot of time away from family, a lot of time away from other things that we might have been doing, and that's hard. That's hard after 8 years. Those first 2 years we served that Mr. Cummings alluded to were tough, really tough, and we've made a lot of progress, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been able to be a part of that progress, to get us to a better place, to be able to walk away tonight, as Mr. Gooch said, knowing that this place is better today than it was when we stepped up here in 2016 and took our oaths for the first time. It's a better place, not just because we're not on TV for bad reasons anymore, not just because people are making fun of us, but because of the number of accomplishments, which has also been said, are too great to list, too many to list what we have been able to do here. It is definitely better Simpsonville in 2023 than it was in 2015 when Mr. Cummings and I both decided to run for office. We could not, and I think Mr. Gooch said this too, have done it alone. Serving on council is serving as part of a team. It was also one of the very first lessons that I learned about council. You can think you're going to do whatever you want to do when you get up here, but the fact of the matter is, even if you're the mayor, you are one vote, and that's it. And if you can't work together with the people on this council as part of a team, if you cannot work together with our city staff, it doesn't work. And we have been, as has already been said, blessed with some really amazing public servants on this council and the council before this one who really were in it for the right reasons to serve the public. And we have been blessed with city staff throughout the entire city who are some of the very best. We do have the best city administrator in the state, and I would say one of the best in the country. We are incredibly fortunate for that. I'm so grateful that you decided to join us. And for everyone who's been a part of Team Simpsonville this entire time, from the police department, fire department, down to public works, which is so much better than we found it. It's just been a really great opportunity to be a part of that. I've learned so much, and like my colleagues here, I really just hope that the legacy that we created through civility, through teamwork, through trying to do, no matter what, at the end of the day, the best thing for the city of Simpsonville, not for any one group of people or for any agenda, that continues to be what the council will do now that we're gone. And so I can walk away knowing that this is better than it was when I got here. And I appreciate everyone's help in getting us there.
Councilmember Roche.
Really quick point of privilege. I know we're all ready to go, but I don't want this to leave. And I was going to do so I don't cry. But thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Ken. You have become very dear people to me. I admire all of you for different reasons. Thank you for your time, your talents, and your faithful attendance. As I calculated, Ken and Jen have both done the homework for 192 agendas. Matt, at 12 years, comes in at 244, I believe it was. That's 288. That's a lot of homework. That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of fielding emails and talking to constituents. And that doesn't include the travel, and that doesn't include the extra time for special sessions, and unfortunately depositions and court hearings and things that we have all volunteered our time. You don't think about those things when you run, but it is very time consuming. And I'm so thankful for all of their dedication. And I just want to make that known. Thank you, all three of you. And I'm going to miss you tremendously.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Just want to remind everyone, that was Ms. Hulehan's unprepared speech. Pretty good. I just want to say that how proud I am to have served 6 of those 8 years with these people. This has been a life-changing experience for me, and I hate to see them go, but I know they have things to do, places to be. But I'm just thrilled that I've been able to serve alongside them, and as they all said, help Simpsonville improve and make all of the positive changes that we've done over the years.
So I'll rise to the final point of privilege just to say very briefly that yes, when I came into the mayor's office, I was keenly aware of knowing that there was so much that I didn't know. I know that all of you weren't sure about me. Well, I wasn't sure about you either. And what has happened is that I have come to know these people and trust these people. And when I look down the line here at 12 years of service as a council member, Councilmember Gooch, 8 years, Councilmember Hulehan, 8 years, Councilmember Cummings, 28 years of combined service and institutional knowledge walking out the door tonight. And I just want to say that there's very little privilege that goes along with being mayor. I get to be the presiding officer over these meetings, and that's about it. But it has been my privilege to get to know you. And you have my most profound respect and warmest regards. And I know you'll be missed because I'm going to miss you. Thank you for your service. And I know you all do great things in the new things that you're going to go do, so thank you very much. Are there any further items, further points of privilege? So I need to point out to the public that we are late for dinner. We are going to the Senior Activity Center for a dinner for our outgoing council members. This does constitute part of meeting in public because there will be a quorum of council members present. That means that the public can attend. It means that you can attend, but we won't feed you. You can just watch us eat. So if you want to come watch us eat, we're not going to conduct any business, but you are able to observe our dinner this evening if that motivates you to do such a thing. But with that, we will conclude our final meeting for our 3 council members. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.